You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Welcome back to a very special episode of Mr. Pod. I'm Miguelito. I'm joined by the beardly co-host of the Sandbox Podcast, Nateryl. Um, Ryan isn't here again because he died in a plane crash. He didn't die on impact. He actually survived the plane crash and then bled out on the ambulance ride over. It's very sad. He should be back next week. In theory, I mean, he's
Like
died
Kenny from South
of
Park dies every
Ebola.
episode, comes back.
He's died of Ebola, and then he died of a plane crash. We'll see what his excuse is next week. So, how's it going?
It's going good. It's got done playing some video games.
Yeah,
You had to drag me away from playing games to come record with you.
yeah. I think that's probably normal. I mean, it's a Saturday night, and well, technically Sunday morning.
Well,
But
yeah, it's true. I don't know. Last night I wasn't feeling it at all, and then I played my PS4 a little while and like fell asleep at 10. And
yeah,
then tonight's the opposite. I'm like gaming all fucking night, ready to
well,
go forever.
well, let me tell you about last night. I was just sitting and watching legal streams of TV shows,
Okay.
and sometimes you get uncomfortable or your ass falls asleep. So I decided to lean back in my chair, right? Which
Okay.
is not what you're thinking. The chair didn't fall over. The cushion and back of the chair detached from the base of the chair. All the bolts that fastened the cushion to the wire base popped off simultaneously, and the chair part of the chair fell to the ground with me in it.
I think like
Uh,
all I'm imagining right now is your chair like falling in pieces and then you on your ass on the
it
ground.
did. It was frightening because it didn't feel like a normal fall. It felt like I was like collapsing with an apparatus that I trusted. I've had this chair. It's probably the problem. I've had this chair for about 15 years, and
So this chair I have here, hopefully no one at work listens. I fucking jacked this shit from work. I had a had a nice chair, like a secondary chair at work. My chair at home was that in the stream if you're watching the like the shitty ass chair on the left. I was actually in that chair for a while. Like I would beef it up with cushions.
yeah,
So I was like, that's it. I'm getting a nice chair.
that is
And-
the best idea I've ever heard in my life.
But
Because
they're like $300 for a new chair. So I was like, that's it. I'm taking this extra one out here at work that no one uses.
yeah, my boss recently put money on the card for me to go get a new chair, and I didn't even consider that I could pilfer the old one that I like just fine. The only problem with it is the leather is starting to flake off, and it like attaches itself to me, and then like
Yeah.
like pollen, I carry it out of the building, and there's a trail of leather flecks that goes from my office out the front door, and people are starting to
Well,
get.
you're like shitty chair at work isn't an awesome, amazing chair at
Yeah,
home
yeah, because I'm not
because
gonna
they drop
spend I'm
like
not gonna
thousand
spend
dollars on a
office
chair.
chair money on a home chair when
Yeah.
the chair I sit on at home is not a computer chair. It's just like, well, now it's not much of anything. I had to like get out the ratchet kit and bolt it back together with non-approved parts. so so I've got an illegal chair that does not. I don't think there's a warranty on it. So
I don't know how interesting conversation wise this is, but I've had like a progression of chairs. So I had the shitty chair next to me, you can see there, where I had my laptop on like one of those laptop platforms where you can sit in bed with them. But instead, it would go across each leg of the chair, and I would sit in the chair. This is how I play Darkfall, which is probably why I was awful at Darkfall because
yeah,
I'm playing on a laptop in a big comfy ass chair.
well, let me stop you right there because if you're interested in like being entertaining, I think you're on the wrong show. Because we're going to talk about chairs, and we're going to talk about uh, near-death experiences with chairs, and I think maybe we'll just only talk about chairs from now on because this has been nice. I mean, I don't have anybody to do any chair talk with, and Ryan's not going to do it. He's too busy
No,
coughing up blood and
having his shirt off during a whole podcast, the
yeah.
lights off.
Isn't that bogus? Like some of us, we care about production quality. We'll turn on a light bulb. I mean, I'm gonna send him a candle. I'm not
At
even
least that.
yeah, like light a torch or something. If you're worried about the power bill, I don't know what his issue is with that, but
So then I upgraded to a rocking chair. I found a rocking chair, like a room across the house. I'm like, I'm gonna pilfer this chair. So I brought it into my office and or my room, I guess,
yeah.
and put some cushions on that. And yeah, that sucked. I didn't really like the rocking chair all that much. So that's why I jacked this chair from work.
Rocking chair for gaming would be terrible. I mean,
Uh, yeah, I got used to it though.
I mean, now do you feel like Phantom Rocks, where you are like working your mouse into a rock that doesn't exist, and it like spins you around some
Well, I'm not
horrible
good at
way?
I'm not good at games anyways, so I think I was probably better. Like I got the mouse across the screen faster.
The uh,
Uh,
the
if you
force
go
of
watch a couple
gravity.
old shows of the podcast, the Sandbox Podcast, you'll probably see me in that rocking chair.
Yeah, the gravity of the rocking chair actually improved your skills.
Exactly.
That's that's a pro tip for the kids at home. If you're bad, then just let gravity take over, and then it's not your
Right.
fault, and you might even improve. I mean, it's like resistance training, kind of.
Well, we both live in Texas, so at least you might have died from the chair. At least I didn't die from Ebola.
Yeah, but to be fair, I mean, speaking of Ebola, uh, Americans and people might not be aware of this. Americans have 100% survival rate from Ebola. So
I didn't know this.
if you the two nurses that got infected, the doctor that got infected, all these people that are getting Ebola here, we have this thing called blood in America, and if you have enough blood, you can survive Ebola most of the time. Uh,
Really? Okay. Yeah.
at least it seems like that. And survivors, they produce antibodies that can then be transfused into people with the same blood type. And one of the nurses, I mean, it's not a death sentence anymore, unless you're in Africa.
I
Where-
actually had I'm going to Maryland in Thanksgiving, and someone there in the family I'm visiting, they're like, I won't come to the dinner anymore because I've been to Dallas. Well,
so,
uh,
so unless you're
the next outbreak is like fucking Maryland. I'm like, well, serves you right, bitch.
so you're gonna show up to dinner, bleeding out of your eyeballs, and then they'd have a case.
Yeah, and we're supposed to go. I'm supposed to meet up with one of our gaming buddies from the podcast, and I told him, well, I went to Dallas, then I'm going to Maryland, the next like outbreak central, then I'm gonna come visit you.
well, I think the current active case right now is in New York,
Oh, okay.
and I don't know if there's anything besides that right now. People are paranoid. That just happens, but I don't think it's as big of an issue as people want to make it out to be. Everybody's just kind of waiting for the zombie apocalypse.
You're right. I mean, if it doesn't affect, if I can come home and play my video games, I really don't give a shit about Ebola.
I don't know how many video games you can play if you're like bleeding out of your pores.
Oh, I need it to. I'll care
But
about it the day like someone in my family gets infected with it.
yeah, but even then, if it's not you, you can still play video games.
Speaking of zombie viruses, have you caught up on The Walking Dead?
Oh my God,
So
it
that show
is.
was like nearly awful a year and a half ago. I mean, it was, because the first half of season 3 was great, it was
Yeah,
awesome, and the second half was some of the worst shit on television ever. And then 4 was like, one of the memes on Reddit is like walk and talk. All they do is walk and talk. That literally is all that happens in season 4.
yeah. Well, and I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but I also recognize that people don't really watch Mr. Pod. So
Yeah.
I will say that they spent a lot of time demonizing the governor, and then they spent a lot of time making it seem like he was going to be, you know, brought back into the fold and humanized a little bit, and then he went crazy again, and it's like, make a decision on what you're doing with the characters, and I think it would be
Yeah.
appreciated. But
I kind of liked that where they went with that. They kind of like showed you some side of the governor was kind of neat, and then they made him go fucking crazy right away. Um,
yeah,
it really, they should have skipped all of that and just had the mid-season finale from season 4 happen in season 3.
because what does the governor really have to be mad about? He killed his own people.
Yeah.
You know, he can't be mad at Rick about that. He's like, you got me mad and I killed all my friends. Well, you killed all your
Yeah.
friends.
I think this current showrunner is trying to get it back in sync with the comics. So he spent like all of season 4 doing that,
Yeah,
and
but it's
now
never going to
5
be
is almost like beat for beat from the comics.
because the fan favorite Daryl is not even in the comic. He's just
No, there's a lot of characters not in the comics.
right, and that's going to be something that they can keep the show fresh with because there are a lot of Daryl arcs, and he adds a lot to the show just by virtue that he reminds us that Boondock Saints was an awesome movie.
Wait, was he in that movie?
Yeah, he was one of the brothers.
What?
Yeah,
You're kidding me.
he was one of the Irish brothers.
So I've seen Boondock Saints
Yeah, you need to
50,
watch it again.
50, 75 times. I've watched
You
every episode
never
of The
made the
Walking
connection.
Dead. Never made this connection.
Yeah, that's the whole
That's
reason
awesome.
I watched The Walking Dead is because I love that movie so much.
Yeah, that's
Get
one
your
of those movies.
stupid rope.
I worked at Blockbuster, and someone would come up to the cash register and, "Oh, I need a movie to watch. Boondock Saints.
Absolutely, that's
It was
that's
like
the
a
go-to.
one of our first Blockbuster exclusives too. Like I just said, hour. I said Blockbuster. My old job is now done by a machine.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I didn't know you worked at Blockbuster, but I worked at Blockbuster for a year when I
Yeah,
was like 16. Which,
probably my senior year in high school and freshman year in college.
but even when I was 16, which is like ages ago, people were already not going to Blockbuster anymore. So, so that's how much ancient history that is.
Well, you got 5 free movies a week and 1 free game a week. So,
Yeah,
my
that was
best friend worked
pretty
there.
good.
We would pull the game rentals. Um, yeah, that got me through. To me, it was like I'm gonna spend this money anyways on video games and movies. So why not work somewhere that gives me free movies and video games?
Yeah, and you get them before they actually come out.
Right? Yeah, you get to watch them like 2 or 3 weeks before they come out.
Yeah, which is
Now if I worked there now, I would be ripping them and like seeding them to.
were you not were you not then?
That was the
We
90s. It
we
was like
used to get
90, 99.
yeah, when Blockbuster started dying, when I worked there was that pass that you could get as a consumer where you could turn in a game and get another game. It's like a
Oh, right.
monthly.
Yeah.
And you'd see people with Xboxes come in 6 times a day, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, I'm done with it already." It's like you're fucking just tell the truth.
You've
We
got
know,
that. You've got your Xbox hacked.
we know what you're
It's
doing.
ripping the thing onto your hard drive.
You think we don't know, but we know. You're not very clever. But that was a horrible job. Mostly just because talking to people is horrible.
Man, that was out of all the jobs I've had, that was the best job.
Oh my god, I feel bad for you. Get a
Oh, you
fun job.
go home, you go to work and like talk about movies, watch movies. I could probably still sing you songs from South Park the movie.
Oh yeah.
'Cause we would close the store every night, but like clean the whole store with South Park the movie playing.
Yeah. That
Which
was
is awesome because it's a straight up musical.
So, what's the deal with Glyph? Like, have you noticed? Because first of all, I don't like downloading a fake Steam in order to play one game. I'm not gonna buy shit from Glyph. So why do they keep adding shit to my list of games? It's like just because a game is free to play doesn't mean that I own it. It doesn't mean that I want it. And Rift shows up in my Glyph list today, and that just makes me feel like real
So did you
mad.
notice because I already had Rift on my list. Did you notice that Trove showed up today or Friday?
Well, Trove has been on there because I was in the beta for Trove, so I didn't notice that
Oh,
appear.
okay. So you made that mistake months before I did.
I
Okay.
never installed it. Honestly, I got in
Yeah,
the
I
beta,
installed it this morning.
just never did. But that I watched some videos on it, and I don't
Wait,
understand
Trove or Rift? Now I'm
Trove.
confused.
I
Okay, yeah.
everybody knows what Rift is. It's kind of like a walking example of how not to copy World of Warcraft. But
Well, yeah. I don't know.
well,
I like how you can really tweak your like overall build more than you could in WoW.
yeah, but then Arcade takes that to a whole other level.
Yeah.
But they are very similar in that respect. I never even really thought about that. But the problem with Rift is not character progression. The problem with Rift is that it is as much a theme park as possible for an MMO.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like there are no options of gameplay. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and until you're
Well,
done.
so I was playing Lord of the Rings online, and then I went to Rift in the beta. I didn't sub to it. But even at that point, I was a theme park gamer, I guess. Really, I hadn't gone to Eve yet, and that game you had. I mean, even Lord of the Rings Online, you had like four different zones you could go to get from like 10 to 15, and then three or four zones to get from 15 to 20. And Rift, it was like there's one zone, one
Yeah,
path, 1 to 50.
this
Have
is
fun.
the level 5 zone. This is the level
Right.
6 zone. This is the level 7 zone. And at that point, you wonder why you're not just watching a movie that's like 200 hours of boring.
So Trove, I did install it this morning. I mean, I had seen it. I had seen some videos on it and everything, but
Yeah.
hell, it was free. Um, the first turnoff is I didn't really realize it was free to play because you couldn't go free to play right now, right? You have to like buy something to get in.
Yeah.
But I guess you don't have to buy much. You really only have to go spend like $5 in their cash shop, and then you can play the game while they're testing it. So you get in, you're like some dumb knight character. You go through the tutorial, and you get to it says, "Hey, look here, look, you can check out the other classes." I'm like, "All right, cool. Let me see what other classes I can be." None of them. They're all like, it's a $10 purchase to be another class.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
so at that point, I'm like, why don't you just charge me up front so I can play whatever class I want?
well, my
Uh,
biggest problem with Trove, we're talking about Trove, right?
yeah, I drove.
Is it's basically just like shitty Cube World. like like
I
Cube
haven't
World
played
was
Cube
this.
World.
Well, it was like this. It's indie. It's not an MMO, but it might as well be. In the same way that in the same way that an MMO that nobody's playing is not an MMO, but Cube World is kind
Yeah,
of they use a
Cube
lot of
World's like a Minecraft, right?
yeah, procedural generation. It's more adventure oriented. It's simpler gameplay, but Minecraft shows I think that simple gameplay doesn't matter as long as the consequences of the gameplay can be complex.
Well, so Trove is that way too. It's much more adventure oriented because what it immediately did was had to build this portal to a hub town, and that hub town took you to various. It's going to give you a progression of adventure zones.
Right. But
So you get to the adventure zone, and then you have like quests and hubs and stuff there.
why is a AAA publisher making a game like that? Is what I'm wondering. I mean, really, what bothers me about it is I understand why an indie studio would take this on in order to make like a project that is interesting and diverse. And they can do a lot with it. And it doesn't matter that much how it looks because it's indie and people will be like okay with that. But what makes them think that they can put a game out that looks like that with all their millions of dollars and people are just going to say, well, that's fine. I mean, let's not forget that as big as Minecraft is now, if Minecraft was made by EA, nobody would have played it because they would say EA has $200 million to spend on this game. Why is it a bunch of fucking squares? It doesn't make any sense.
So,
So,
so you're basically asking why doesn't Trove look like EverQuest Landmark?
why exactly?
Yeah.
And it's like you don't want to copy EverQuest Landmark, obviously, but when you have money to throw behind something, like hire an artist to make it not look terrible. Like one artist. That's all it takes. And it does look terrible. It's probably one of the ugliest voxel games that's out there.
Yeah, so out of the voxel games, where does Trove rank? So we got Minecraft, Trove, EverQuest Landmark.
And
Uh,
we're not gonna rank Minecraft because I think Minecraft, as the original, as the one that kind of got this whole thing going, I don't think that you rate it against other things. I think that you rate the clones, just like you don't rate Rift against World of Warcraft,
right,
because you
that's true.
understand that
Okay.
without World of Warcraft, none of these
All right,
would
well, let's just
exist.
put it out there. Trove looks like fucking ass. The
Yeah,
art
it's terrible.
style really annoys the shit out of me. So I could probably get past all of that if the gameplay was there, and it might be. But the second they started funneling me down like predetermined adventure zones, I was kind of done.
Yeah, because what was the whole point? Like, why use this engine? Why use voxels? Why use something that's so shitty on purpose if you're just gonna make like the same old thing? Uh,
I think you can build whatever you want, uh,
ye-
but you can also go to the cash shop and buy like the missing color you need. You
awesome.
could dump in like
Okay,
$3 and get a group of like purple blocks. You
I've
know, if you're
changed my
missing
mind.
purple,
This sounds like the best game I've ever heard, and I'm gonna start playing
you buy a
tomorrow.
really nice horse in the cash shop.
Can you make your horse out of blocks and then have it like be a horse?
I don't
Eh,
think so.
maybe I don't know. I'm not gonna try it because I look at it and I say that this is like the worst looking thing I've ever seen. And I'm not a
Well, I mean, I
person that's
guess
a stickler for graphics. Like it's not even
yeah.
about that. It's
Well,
just
I
like
mean, you play old ass games all the time.
yeah, but why would you intentionally make it look bad? Even the if you remember the Guild Wars 2 like Super Fun Zone, I don't even remember what it was
Oh yeah,
called,
yeah.
which was bad looking deliberately. Even that had some artistic integrity where you're like, this looks like kind of interesting and fun. With Trove, it just looks like they tried to make it look stylized, but it just made it look worse than if they
Yeah,
had.
like I got a mask on my face, and I put it
Yeah,
on. I turned like a deformed creature, stylized though. So you know, it's supposed to be. I don't know. What I think
yeah,
it is they knew they could make this thing
yeah.
really cheap, and then make a ton of money off of it.
But
Because this is the thing to make this and survival horror games.
so yeah, so that makes me wonder because you see people copying World of Warcraft, and that's an old it's an old trope. That's not even really something that's argued anymore because it seems like you can't make a game that doesn't have at least some familiar elements
Right.
for World of Warcraft and still be successful. So you're saying that now people are copying an indie game that's not even an
Well,
MMO?
I mean, okay, so think back. What's the last real original game you played? They're all derivative.
Oh,
Every now and then, someone sets the bar. So combat wise, would be like Batman Arkham Origins. That set the bar for awesome, fluid action combat. And now, like Shadow of Mordor is about to get probably Game of the Year. It's got Batman fucking combat in it.
yeah,
Uh,
but I think probably more for more reasons than that, it's going to be getting that that quality. It's
yeah, I haven't played it yet, but my point is like games copy each other nonstop.
yeah, and that's always been the case. But I think now you see it more than you used to. Um, back when people made NES games in their garage, where everything was like there wasn't any kind of concept of a game engine. You were
I mean, when everything was a 2D side-scrolling platform.
well, but they were all different. Like the
Yeah,
way that they were a 2D side-scrolling platform, there was you couldn't go to GitHub and install the 2D side-scrolling platform game engine and then install it onto your NES cartridge because back then if you wanted to have like extra dialogue in your game, you had to like skip 3 levels because there just wasn't enough space. Everything was made just for the purpose of making the game be fun in this way, and it was all the developer would make the game with the gameplay in a way that they thought would be the most fun and most fitting for you came out with abortions like the Three Stooges pie throwing and I think it was a purer field back then. People were less derivative, even though lots of games were similar. Uh, you never felt like Contra was the same as Metroid, even though they were side scrollers. You didn't feel
What's
like,
remember Joust?
yeah,
So there was a Nintendo game just like Joust, like it is Joust. I don't know if it made more money or not, but it came out on the Nintendo platform from Nintendo,
huh?
and they basically just ripped off Joust. This is like a they've been doing this shit for years. They
Yeah,
just copy
yeah.
things.
I
Uh,
mean, okay, Dr. Mario, come on. Like Tetris is already a thing. Let's just make Tetris with two-piece blocks.
Dr. Mario's different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you got like now it's like you have no end. I don't know if you remember Puzzle Fighter, Super Puzzle Fighter, which was like a
No, never
block
played.
puzzle game where you'd have like Street Fighter characters battle each other based on your performance at the Tetris game. Uh, I mean, you would never see that now. You would see something that's like Call of Duty with a different ethnicity you're supposed to cleanse. Uh, but you know, everything's still kind of trying to be the same five genres. And
So the survival horror genre thing, which Minecraft, I guess, kind of started. Well,
yes and
Minecraft is
no.
more sandbox. Did the survival thing. Probably what really exploded would be DayZ.
DayZ caught lightning in a bottle, and I could see where maybe they might have derived some of the concepts from Minecraft. I think it's probably more likely that they just wanted to do something with the Arma 2 engine. And
Yeah.
they might have been like, oh, well, this sounds like a fun idea. They couldn't have had any idea how popular it would be. And now you
No.
see that's like, even though this was just a mod that was supposed to be just like a little fun thing that adds to the game, it has now become the only reason to buy an Arma game, is
Yeah.
for this mod.
Well, I bought Armor 3, which I never intended to play because Armor games aren't good.
Yeah.
And I literally bought Armor 3 when it was like $40 instead of 60 because like, oh, I'll play the next DayZ game on it. I
And
don't
not
know.
the standalone that came out.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably a dumb purchase, but I don't know.
Probably.
Not all of these games though hit it big. Like Rust made a bunch of money, and now
Yeah.
you got Life is Feudal sold 100,000 copies.
Which is
Uh,
insanity. I
it
mean,
is because the game is, as far as I know, is nowhere near finished.
well, even if
Um,
it's not, what's the incentive to finish when you can make a much simpler game that people seem to really like? You don't have to host anything yourself, and
right.
I mean, you can still be just as creative with the gameplay. I think people are starting to move away from the MMO genre, and this is a good case. I mean, why make an MMO?
This
Uh,
game, this Life is Feudal, if it had launched, let's say it was ready 100%, he had all of his code done, okay, and he launched as an MMO last month, it would not have sold 100,000 copies.
No, there's no way. I mean, there's no way they could recoup that
That's like,
money
did
over the
Darkfall sell
course.
100,000 copies? Did Mortal Online sell 100,000 copies?
If Darkfall sold 100,000 copies, I mean,
This game sold more because it got the attention of the Steam audience, which they're not interested in an MMO. They're
yeah.
more like, oh, I played Rust. It was fun. This game looks like something similar.
Well, MMOs
You
are
know?
risky. They take longer time to develop. You have to have a better knowledge of how to, roll out scalable servers. And even when they come out, in the best case scenario, the launch is a disaster. And it's
Yeah.
like that with every game. World of Warcraft, the launch was a disaster. It they refunded months of time to people because the game wasn't entirely playable. And we're talking about Blizzard, possibly the most polished game company,
Yeah.
uh, and they couldn't get a handle on it for several months, and they're still working on it. I mean,
I can't think of the last good launch I was in.
well, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, do you remember? Did you play Anarchy Online when that came out? that's
yeah.
that's the litmus test that I use because in Anarchy Online, when they launched that game, it seemed like every month they just ripped features out because they
So
couldn't get them to work.
I was busy with this thing called college, and when Anarchy
Oh,
Online came out, I didn't play. I played zero MMOs from 2000 to 2004, and
yeah. And
Anarchy
that's a
Online.
good time for MMOs.
Yeah. So Anarchy Online, I bought, and I couldn't. I logged in to play it. I had a beefy computer that I built for college, and yeah, that wasn't happening.
No.
So I never even used my sub. Well, I guess you get one anyways, but I couldn't play it that 30 days. So I went back like a year and a half later and paid the $15 and actually got in the game.
Yeah, it was a great game. I mean, in terms of MMOs, Anarchy was one of the last that came out. Before the big WoW storm, it was one of the last really good MMOs that had interesting systems and
Well, I remember watching like Dark Age of Camelot in college, going to the Hastings or the Best Buy or whatever, Walmart, looking at Dark Age of Camelot blocks and thinking, oh, I wish I had a job. I could buy this box, instead
yeah,
I'm paying tuition.
no thanks. I didn't quit playing Ultima Online until kind of all that stuff died down. I played Shadowbane. I went
Okay.
pretty much from UO to Shadowbane, and then after Shadowbane, it was a clusterfuck until we are where we are now. I mean, everything after Shadowbane has just subsequently jaded me a little bit further. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
digress. I can't think of a good reason why, especially an independent developer, because independent developers are the guys that come out with these Kickstarters for MMOs, and they do it, I think, because they don't understand what a clusterfuck that's gonna be. Because even if you have the best idea, making it work on a massive scale, making it to where more than 10 people can see each other doing something cool, uh, they run out of money. I mean, it takes years. Darkfall was in development. It seems like
yeah,
uh,
forever.
probably
Like
like
9 years.
4 or 5 years before they got to a point to where they were willing to show anything. And
It
people were so
it's
excited
it's
about that game based on concepts, and they abandoned all the concepts. They had to
yeah,
because they,
they
they
yeah.
simply couldn't make it work. I mean, technology wasn't where it needed to be. They didn't have the programmers that had the knowledge to make it be what it needed to be. And even now, they're still trying to catch back up with what their original goals were. And
Well, they had to rewrite their entire code base pretty much, or whatever you want to call it, on Holy Wars,
yeah,
so that they could expand on in the future because the original Darkfall code was a mess. I
yeah,
mean, I want to act like I know what coding is like, but these indie projects they tend to explode with features because they have so many ideas,
yeah.
and then
Feature creep is what you call it, and it's not just games that have feature creep. It's all development where you come up with another thing, and then this thing requires these things to make it work, and then one of these things requires this to make it work, and ultimately it doesn't even resemble your original simple plan. But I mean, if I had a recommendation for people, the only indie studios that I see that are actually okay outside of Robert's Space Industries, because I I don't think they should be considered indie anymore with how much money they have.
yeah,
But
see,
outside
they're
of
like
them,
close to 60 million now.
the only people that seem to be making headway in making a game that really have no business making games are people that purchase these engines that do a lot of the heavy lifting for them. But even then, you see people going with
Unity.
Unity, and Unity is not made for MMOs. I mean, it's not optimized for it. It's not the network code isn't where it
Hell,
needs to
there's
be.
a Kickstarter project out there to give it the network code for MMOs, and
isn't that
they're
such a isn't
and
that just such a fucked up thing? Because
they're going to be a sandbox MMO for themselves, but it's
right,
also an engine that other people can use to build MMOs with Unity.
and the whole reason they did that was so they could meet their Kickstarter goal. I mean, they they don't want to do the work without getting paid for it. And it's a lot of work because really, when you get into Unity, what you find out is that you are replacing more than you are working with it. And
Oh,
unless you're
okay.
making a simple a project, then you could do a platformer in Unity. You could do like a single player, small multiplayer in Unity, as long as you're willing to work within their construct. But if you have any kind of
Yeah.
custom requirements, uh, it's not super friendly.
I played
And
some Unity games recently though that I really liked. Um,
yeah,
I'm having a hard time naming them now.
uh, Shadowrun.
I like Shadowrun, although I didn't like the story. It put me to sleep. I like the gameplay, so I
Yeah,
bought the DLC, which I haven't played yet.
it's good.
'Cause I heard the DLC was a much better story.
It is better.
I think Albion Online is Unity.
It looks like it. Actually, I
That's going to
know
be
it.
on
I
all the
know it is
platforms.
because they
And
use the Unity player in the
okay, yeah,
browser.
that's right. Yeah, and that game is great. It's not as deep as I would like it, but for what it is, I think it's going to be a really solid game. It's definitely well made.
Yeah, I just think that if they ran into an issue where they had an embarrassment of riches, if they ran into basically success, which they don't anticipate. I mean, somebody makes a game like that, they don't expect WoW like success. They
No,
wouldn't be able to support players on that platform on a massive scale. I mean, they could support Darkfall level of success, and by that I mean not success. but I just don't think that the engine. I mean, unless they've done a bunch of stuff under the covers, unless they rewrote, it doesn't have UDP support. It doesn't have a lot of the TCP support is not that great. But I mean,
I
this
don't know
is
about these supports. I know what phrase you're throwing out, but my gauge is how many players can we have on the screen in a fight? And
yeah.
in alpha, we had probably like 75 on a screen
Wow,
with lag
that's
free.
that's surprising.
Uh, so I don't know. So far, so good. Now they
Well, and
really discourage. The only reason to do the big fight in that game though is to control the castle in like the middle of your map,
yeah,
and that just gives you a couple tax things. All the big battles are happening 5 versus 5, and they're where you like take over a guild's territory. So
yeah,
they obviously don't want um, large battles to be the main like PvP focus.
and
So
it
they're
seems like
probably
you see a lot of pseudo ISO games coming out of that platform as well. Like Shards is another
oh
Unity game,
yeah, you're right. Shadowrun,
and
that game.
but
Um,
the thing about Shards, and they'll admit it, it's not really an MMO. I mean, there are a lot of people that will be playing that will be able to see each other, but it's really more of a small hosted server kind of a system. And that isn't to say that they couldn't scale. And I haven't really gotten into Unity for a while, so I could be totally off base, and somebody might, send me a death threat. I think that's what's in vogue right now. But the I don't know. I don't like Unity because whenever I've worked with it, I've kind of ended up trying to work against it more than I've used it. And
Matt,
for
can you think of a Unity game you played that's like not that doesn't appear polished?
no,
They
because
may all have a certain look to them, but they all play pretty well.
they do. The only problem with Unity, and it's apparent in Shadowrun, is that their UI system, their UI draws are a little bit laggy.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah.
and you notice it. If you're looking for it, you notice it. There's, some milliseconds where you would expect a button click to be activated, and it just isn't. That's because I think they do all the draws for the UI on different passes instead of rendering them all at once.
Yeah.
But again, um, I mean, this isn't important. The thing is, yeah, Unity. The appeal, I think, is that it does make games that look decent. You don't have to do a lot of work. They do shaders for you. They do, you know, most of what an indie studio would be looking for. They do it for you. There's not really a good reason to use Unity for a 2D game unless you just really like it.
There is one out there though.
There are
Uh
there are there are a lot. There are plenty of games, but the way that you do 2D in Unity is you render the 2D on a three-dimensional plane where you got a bunch of flat surfaces stacked on top of each other. So it's not even really. I mean, semantically, it's not even really two-dimensional, even though there is no third dimension. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You have a bunch of flat characters that are two-dimensional that are placed on planes varying distances from the camera, and that's what determines, this.
Well, so is it just because this engine's dirt cheap to get or free even?
It's not free.
It's not free.
No,
It's just cheap.
Unity is getting more expensive every time they come out with a release. It used to be a lot cheaper than it is, but
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever gives these indie developers a way to get their games to me. I
yeah,
buy
yeah.
all that shit. I buy all the Humble bundles.
And Shroud of the Avatar is on Unity. That's
Yeah,
probably
so that is concerning because that's going to have a lot of network features in it.
yeah,
And
but also they have a lot of money, so that can solve the problems. And hearing Richard Garriott talk about Unity, it's obvious the reason why he wanted to do it was because for an old dog to get back into development, they would be stepping on toes, and for collaboration,
right.
he would be able to go in and actually change little things here and there, and it doesn't require you to know or be on top of all the like flavor of the month programming styles and coding and like as much as he wants to be coding. I don't think somebody at that age is going to be able to keep up.
Right.
Not that I'm an ageist. It's just that there are certain things you have to be adaptable to the current systems. And like he was the last time he was really coding, it was a very long time ago.
Sounds like a very selfish reason to choose
But
Unity, but
but if you love making games, it's a great reason to choose Unity. Especially if you're employing people. I mean, why do they give a shit? You know,
yeah.
you're giving them money, so
Well,
uh,
so how much did try to? There was like, or it was like 3 million for their Kickstarter, wasn't it? And then
uh,
just everything seems so much like they brought in no money compared to Star Citizen. When you talk about crowdfunding, so we
yeah,
say we
but
say he got a ton of money, but now it's like, did he really get a ton of money?
they're taking the same approach that Star Citizen did, even though see they got 1.9 million over their $1 million goal, but they're
Yeah, when you
taking
hear
the
about games like Destiny costing 500 million and
500 million on hiring actors for like real time videos that have nothing to do with the game. I hate advertising in this country because these games are
yeah.
successful by virtue of you see them during the Super Bowl. And they're not successful because of the viral reasons that they would typically be like you don't hear your friend.
Well, that's true and not true. You wouldn't have
Yeah, right.
Minecraft or Rust or
But
DayZ
but
without that.
Minecraft didn't spend $500 million, so
No, I meant the opposite extreme. If there's zero
yeah,
advertising it, they strike it rich.
that's what I mean. Is if you're a big developer, you spend all your money on getting your name into people's heads, and everybody just goes and buys it because they assume, oh, the game has to be good if they spend money on a commercial. The
Yeah.
first MMO really like that was probably the Old Republic.
Well, I bought the Destiny PS4 bundle because that's what my kids want. My kids want that because it's on all the commercials.
Yeah, even though what you see on a commercial has nothing to do with the game. It's like
Yeah.
people gallivanting around in real time.
I'd explain to my 9-year-old why Destiny is awful.
Let me tell you about game theory, child. And he's like, no, let me tell you what you're going to get me, or I'm going to tell mommy that you're shitty.
Exactly.
And that's what you have to deal with. Uh, but, okay, back to crowdfunding.
Yeah, we get off on
with
tangents.
with Star Citizen and then Shroud of the Avatar, the majority of their funding, it seems like, comes after their Kickstarter campaign. So it doesn't even matter what they make on the
Yeah,
initial
and I
funding
guess
phase.
they don't advertise that amount, but I don't think it's there's a lot more press in that 1 month window for Shroud of the Avatar.
Right.
So the 2-3 million sounds like plenty of money for someone like they're making the 2D ISO role playing game. Um, shit. Anyways,
Like
the non
Planescape
MMO.
or
Yeah, like those games. They
well,
sound like that sounds like plenty
that's
of
not
money
even
to make that
2D.
kind of game.
Oh yeah, those are fucking Unity also.
But to make
The
a to make a full-fledged MMORPG or even this half MMO game like Shroud the Avatar.
Like pseudo lobby.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it's enough money, and yet
It
they're
isn't.
expected to deliver a quality product.
But
I think
when you're Richard Garriott, you don't have to get all the money from people.
it's
Because
just like a recipe for disaster.
I think that
You're asking, you're
I
asking
think
for
he could
money. People.
attract legitimate publishers, and a lot of these guys they just get on Kickstarter as a proof that people want the game, and I think that's a good way to do it. Because if people are willing to put their money out as sort of a pre-order, then you know that the game is worth making because they like the concept enough. But then after that, they pursue a publisher to actually deliver on the promises because making a
Yeah.
game is expensive unless it's like three guys in a basement. But three guys in a basement sounds like a better development cycle because at least then the idea doesn't change a shitload from all the different heads coming together.
Yeah.
Even worse than that is when people give you money for your game, then they are basically an investor, and anything they say you feel like you had to listen to, and people are fucking idiots. Like
No, they are.
they come in and they
Uh,
say, you should do this with the game, and you can't say, well, that's the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard.
like you wonder, so you had Mass Effect 1, which is awesome, right? And then
Yes.
and two people think it's better than 1. They're wrong,
No.
but 2 had its moments.
Yeah.
And then I think by 3, like someone realized even in 2, like, hey, we're making a bunch of money off this game,
Yeah.
and that's what you get. You get total shit
That's
because whatever creative direction they had at the start, by the time they get to the money making monstrosity that 3 was,
yeah.
um, you get an inferior product, man, it's all over the place.
Well, talking about Mass Effect, I think more broadly, talking about BioWare and
Yeah, that
their
works too.
transformation that they have undergone since
Who
being
bought them out?
acquired.
Activision,
EA owns
EA.
BioWare.
Oh yeah, EA owns. Who did
Uh,
Activision buy? Yeah, I actually bought WoW or
did,
Blizzard.
did they? Anyway, not my point. Uh, when BioWare got acquired, and basically they just became a delivery mechanism for EA's like vast wealth. You started seeing. I think if one thing BioWare's always done is they've always had good writing, and everything that they do, I can't think of any exceptions right now. I would say that every game they've ever made has been written well, has been a story well told, and
Even
with
Dragon Age 2, which is awful,
it's a
has a
yeah, but
great
it's a
story.
good story. It's just that the delivery mechanism got shallower,
Right.
and that
While
that's
improving the combat.
part of the point. Is they figured out that they do that well. Mass Effect 2 and 3, they didn't need to be as vast, as great of games because they could sell them just based on the thing that they do well. They could deliver a story. It's basically a movie you play. By the third one, they're like taking wild leaps at trying to make you cry every 5 minutes, and I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But not that I cried. I'm just saying that's what they were trying to do. Sniff, sniff, sniff. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that they had to get better, and I wonder what Inquisition is going to look like now that they've figured that out with Mass Effect 3. Because I think 3 was the
Yeah.
most successful Mass Effect money wise, and the lesson they learned from it is shitty multiplayer is the way to go. Because
Oh man,
now
that
you're seeing
multiplayer in Mass Effect is not good.
it's not. It's but what it is a way to keep people playing and thinking about the series
No, the only reason
forever.
I played it was so I could get better in my story.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason Emma played it was so they get the right ending they wanted in their story.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
yeah, they thought that it was a great thing, and I don't know what feedback they're getting. But the Dragon Age Inquisition, the multiplayer, if the multiplayer was just a very, very basic Baldur's Gatean, you join the party, I would love that more than anything. I would
It's all we want.
I would sacrifice a child if that was what they did, because that's what everybody wants. I mean, and proof of that is Divinity. Divinity was definitive proof that all people want is to be able to play a game with their friends that's a good game. If Skyrim had that,
Borderlands.
I would still
I
be
mean,
playing Skyrim. I mean,
Borderlands a much more mainstream example of that, just give someone the ability
sure.
to play with a few of their close friends. Massive
Borderlands
success.
Borderlands was successful because of that, but Borderlands was not. I mean, my cup.
Right. It's a
Borderlands wasn't a
FPS,
game I would have
not an
played through
RPG.
by myself. But when you take a game that you would play through by yourself, and then you add a social component to that, where you can like joke around and have fun with your friends. Like, for instance, I keep going back to the Elder Scrolls series. I didn't
Yeah.
want I didn't want the massive Elder Scrolls. What I wanted was to play the Elder Scrolls with friends so that we could,
Can you imagine how much more money that game would have made if it was a 4 or 5 player co-op instead of a
yeah,
MMO?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it was just Skyrim, if they had made a carbon copy of Skyrim, except you could have a few guys with you that, all they can do is just run around with you. That's all I wanted. But instead, they made a stripped down version of the Elder Scrolls series without all the sandbox elements because you can't have those elements in an
No,
MMO.
you can't.
Uh, it just it makes me really sad. And now I think they're backtracking. I think they're starting to add more to the sandbox in the form of their crime system that they're coming out with. And I mean, it's promising, but it's kind of too little, too late. I think, and people have moved on.
Yeah, they're doing some things in the PvP zone there too. And I don't think it's too little too late because it's still not launched on the console, which
Oh,
is well,
who
yeah,
plays
for you,
console games?
well,
Most people.
millions and millions of people,
Yeah,
most people,
yeah, most people, children. But I
probably
don't
most
think.
people that play the Elder Scrolls played these games on the console.
Oh, I can't imagine. Because
Um,
the mods were the reason to play that game. Well, not the reason, but a good reason.
Skyrim is plenty good without mods though.
It is good,
Uh,
but I think the mods on Skyrim really take it to the next level.
no, the mods on like Oblivion or the game before that
Because
take it to the next level.
what Oblivion didn't have was salvageable combat. Because the combat's kind of
Yeah.
dull. The implications of the combat were pretty good. You could like do the spell customization and shit with Morrowind and Oblivion, and that was cool. Skyrim was the first opportunity for mods to come in and make it an action-packed game. And you see a lot of Skyrim mods that change the combat system to be more like a first-person shooter, like you die quickly, you kill quickly, first hit wins type of a thing. That makes the
Yeah.
game so much more fun, and I don't even know why. It's just the idea of you dodge an arrow and hit them with an arrow and they're dead, Zelda style. That was just so much fun. But God, if it was even shitty multiplayer, it would have been just insane. But you can't make money on that. You only make money on the box sale, and they're never gonna do that.
Well, it's a lot of money though. Box sales for Destiny. Uh, you know,
But again, it's a game that you play with your friends. It's not a great game. It's just a great game to play with friends. And I want to see somebody take that extra leap of making a great game that you can play with friends instead. And you don't see
yeah,
that.
you're thinking back to like uh, the Baldur's Gate games, which was
Yeah,
an awesome game by yourself. Yet you can do the same experience with multiplayer. Here we are,
or
15 years later. We can't have that.
yeah, go back even further. Red Alert. Go back to Secret of Mana. Go back to Contra. I mean, these are all games that were good that people played. That you add another player in there, and it's fucking awesome.
Oh,
Like,
Contra was badass in a room with a friend or two.
yeah,
Uh, yeah. So I have purposely avoided any news Dragon Age Inquisition.
yeah. Wha-
What I'm wanting to do is just buy it when it comes out and just see what it is
yeah,
and avoid all the hype. Um, they've done a great job with their hype train, other than a video or two.
yeah, and that's both good and bad. The one thing that I have seen that they were touting is the 200 hours. That's the thing they keep throwing out there. It's like there's
Oh, yeah.
200 hours of content. 200
Who wants
hours
to
of
play
content.
200 hours of con? I
But
didn't tell you what. I didn't beat Dragon Age 1, which I love.
yeah,
I didn't beat 2, which the story is good enough to justify a finish.
yeah.
I'm damn sure not going to beat a 200-hour
No,
Dragon
no,
Age
no.
3.
But the main game, it's just like how Skyrim, you could easily play 200 hours in the same Skyrim campaign.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to just beat the game, you're talking 10 to 15 hours if you just go from the beginning to the end. And I think they're doing the same thing. They say 200 hours or 30 hours, you know. It's like take your
Yeah.
pick between the two. What the 200 hours does tell me is that you're not on rails. And that's one thing that Dragon Age 2 got wrong, is that you felt too much like you were on rails. You could explore a little bit. There was no reason. I mean, all you're going to do is run into random encounters for totally purposeless nonsense. You're basically just walking from the beginning until the end.
Yeah.
And I just, after Origins was so good, even though Origins wasn't the most sandboxy game, the
When
fact that
Origins
they,
came out, I didn't like it. I thought Origins was bad.
but
And
then
then
the
I
industry
had
got so
2 or
much
3
worse.
years. Right. So what happened is the next 3 years, I was like, man, there isn't any good RPGs coming out. Dragon Age is actually kind of awesome.
Yeah,
And I went back and played it and realized that, it was actually a decent game. Um, and what Dragon Age 1 did differently than 2 was it let you could do the elf storyline first and then go do the dwarf one or go to this part of the map, do that part. Whereas 2, you were kind of stuck on the same predetermined path and you
yeah.
were stuck in one city.
The origin stories, they added about 10 hours to the game. And the stories weren't that different after you
No.
got out of the original part of it. But
But even then, you could still do that stuff in different order. You could do the mage stuff and then go do the,
yeah, yeah, and
you know,
you could, and the results could be different if you were a different origin, and that added a little bit of cool stuff to it. I like any game where I play 5 hours and then start all over and over and over again. I like to, I like to change my mind and go back and start a new guy that does it a little differently, and then change my mind and go back because it means there's depth. And I think the approach they're taking with Inquisition is that you may start from the same point, but you don't have to go hit the same key, story things. You could kind of take a more roundabout way. And I think that's a healthier way to build a game. Even though you can be a dwarf or whatever, that doesn't really matter. It probably will matter to some things, but um, being able to, choose your destiny. That's the whole reason to like a sandbox game. Is you don't feel like you're on rails the whole time, and
no, I hope it's good.
I think it will be. I don't know. Uh, I don't know if games are worth what they're selling them for anymore. Because the more time goes on, the less entertainment value you get out of a game, time wise, and the more money they cost. But I
Man, I
think
don't know about that. Let's take like the Stick of Truth, which to me was 12 hours of pure bliss. South Park Stick of Truth, 12 hours, $60. That's cheap entertainment, man.
it is, but for a game's scale, I mean, when you're talking about Super Nintendo RPGs, if you go back
Yeah,
to
but I mean, I
Final
spent
Fantasy
$5
III,
on a comic book, and I'm done with the comic book in 1 minute.
well,
Or you
yeah,
spend
or a movie,
10 on a
because
movie.
yeah, movies are fucking too expensive now. They're not even a cheap date anymore. It's cheaper to, buy diamonds for a date. So it's it's getting a little bit ridiculous. I guess yeah, from that perspective, you're paying for however many hours of entertainment. But with a movie, you understand that you're paying for the production and you know how much the production is. I think it's probably the same.
I think we should just count ourselves lucky that game prices haven't skyrocketed with the astronomical increase in development costs.
Well, console games are more expensive now than PC games. Um, I think, right? Don't they charge 70 for those now?
Well, I think it's because they actually acknowledge the digital delivery of PC games.
Yeah. Right. Sure they do. Because if I go buy a game at the store, it's not gonna be the same fucking price.
Well, I mean, it's a brand new game on Steam is usually $50, and it's
No, it isn't.
60. Yeah,
No, well, okay, yeah, on Steam maybe, but you don't see EA games come out on Steam anymore.
no, you don't get deals with EA games.
No, they don't. They fucking they I don't know. I don't condone pirating games, but if you do pirate an EA game, I would not look down on you.
I wish I was pirating games because, like, I bought Sims 4. I played that game 1 hour. I paid $60 for
And
1 hour.
and because of the digital delivery, because of the DRM, you can't recoup any costs like you used to be able to with a game. You used to be able to take a game
It
back
doesn't
to
matter. I don't sell back games. I
right,
got so
right.
many games from 10, 12 years ago. I wouldn't have sold it anyways.
When I got on a, let's see, in my teen years, I spent a bunch of time at Funko Land because I would get an RPG. Because back when games were limited in supply, you could get a rare
Yeah.
game and it was worth it. You beat it, you take it back, you know, get a couple more, and that was a cool thing. You would never see that now because they do their damnedest to make sure that you have to keep that thing, and even if it's the worst thing you've ever played, you can't recoup any of the costs because fuck you, it's not a consumer's market anymore. So until people just stop playing video games, which is never going to happen, you're never going to see any of these practices change.
No, luckily we're still in a pretty healthy industry.
Yeah, then that's true, but there have been a huge amount. We've touched on this already. Indie games are so big right now, so much bigger than they've ever been before, because they acknowledge how much cheaper they are to make when they sell them. And who's not going to
Yep.
buy a $10 game that looks cool? I mean, it's $10. So you see all these cool indie games with cool ideas. You see games like Starbound come out. You see games like, I mean, I can't. I'm drawing a blank. It's getting too late.
There's a ton of them, man. They're all over the place. Even the console crowd is getting it because you have the Xbox Arcade and you have the PS Plus, and those are bringing all those games to them too.
And they take
Um,
risks. They're trying to make games that are fun and new and fresh instead of reproducing the same old thing
so
over and over.
sort of, but
Yeah.
go ahead and think of how many fucking physic platformers trying and all the trying
Yeah.
like games. Like if I play one more physics puzzle side scrolling game, I'm gonna puke. I'm not. They're not interesting to me anymore, and that's all those guys make.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's not the type of game I'm talking about. I'm talking about more the people come in with goals that are way too high, and
yeah,
they don't make it there, but at least they're trying, and they don't charge you $70 for for their game that's full of bugs and terrible. You remember when the new Sim City came out from EA,
yeah.
and people couldn't even fucking play it. I mean, it was they required you to be online so that they could make sure you bought it, and their servers were dead. So I I'm at a
Couldn't handle
loss.
the load of players to come in.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So I think we'd be remiss if we don't talk a little bit about the game we're both playing, Arcade, which, as many flaws as it has, I think it probably is getting more right than anything else right now.
Um,
Uh,
yeah. I don't know. So I play it, and I play it every night, and I keep wanting to play like a real sandbox game.
yeah.
Um, and that's not what Arcade is.
Well,
So
you want to play a real sandbox game that has the population that Arcade has, but there
yes,
is not one, except for Eve, which there's no replacement for Eve. but but Eve also can't replace that kind of a game. It's not the same draw.
yeah. I mean, so like tonight I went out for the cast. I went out. I had my group of we had 15 guys in our raid, which isn't really that much when you talk about blobbing in this game. And we went out and took on 7 or 8 fishing boats, two separate fishing raids, and then ended up fighting a guild at night before the night was over, where they wiped us. And they had twice our numbers, or they caught us by surprise. Really, it's a lot of players. It's a lot of content. It's a hell of a lot of fun. And there was some consequence to it because we were pissing people off because they spent an hour catching that fish. We go kill them all and then sell the fish. Uh, but I still wish it was I don't know, a more cohesive, less theme parky, more risk game.
Yeah, and the only risk, I mean, if you live a pirate's life in Arc Age, you're familiar with risk and reward because that's basically, if you are interested in playing a hardcore game, that's about as close as it gets. I mean, some people might argue that the conquest stuff that's coming later might be hardcore. I don't really think so because
No, what are you risking as a pirate? Your
uh,
time?
well, okay, I don't really mean pirate. I mean like a person pirating, because the pirate
Yeah, but
faction,
even then, like, okay,
people
I don't
destroy
know,
your
just
boat. People, people reclaim goods that you've claimed. The risk kind of incurs after that. But without the trade routes, without the physics engine, like these two very basic components, the game would be terrible. But because they have this element of risk, it becomes an exciting game. Because even if your
yeah.
goods are stolen, if they can be taken again, you're still on edge. And that's something you don't really get with a less
All right, so
risky.
let's talk about what it does right. What it does right is it allows PvP centric characters to get in the game and enjoy it, while at the same time giving a lot of carrots on the sticks in progression to the PvE player. It
Well,
allows the
well,
two worlds to mix.
and they let you get into it early. They don't tell you you can get into it early. I think the main flaw is that you if you play the game for an hour, you have no idea what the game's about. You think this is just grinding quests. But if you decide after an hour you wanted to go jump on a boat with a bunch of pirates and kill people, you could absolutely do that. Like
Yeah.
you could really contribute, because the difference for a level-based game, the difference between the lowest and the highest level is the smallest I've ever seen.
Well,
Um,
yeah. I mean, even now I'm running around level 50 with quest gear,
yeah,
and I hear people talk about, oh, I've got my Hazel weapon, I've got my Epharium super gold. I spent 2,000 gold on this sword, and I'm like, man, shit, I haven't done any of that stuff yet.
yeah. Well,
And
we built our boat at around level 25 or 30,
yeah,
and that's when we started going out and killing people. And we killed people of every level. I mean, that wouldn't happen as much now that the server's a little bit more mature. But
well, so I wonder how much that is arcade is just who strikes first,
a lot of it is, and
who gets
that's a
their
big
CC
flaw.
down first, AoE down first, who gets the jump.
But I think I would argue that the thing that I love the most about the game. Now, I don't love the game. I think that it has a lot of problems. I think that if there was something better, I would jump ship immediately. But here we are. Uh, the thing I love about the game, the reason why I enjoy the game is because it gives you so much potential to just do something random.
Yeah.
Even though it's not a total sandbox, you always have the option. A couple nights ago, we took out our galleon and we blockaded a section of the Gulf, of Nui, like the area where Souls Reed and all those areas are.
Okay.
So we blockaded a section to where people couldn't take a trade ship or a boat past us without going out into the unsafe region. And we
Okay.
were just stealthing in the water. And I would rope people off their boat. I would rope the captain off their boat, and we would kill everybody on board and take all their trade goods, throw them on the galleon, which was in the safe region, and then start all over again. Uh, we built up a lot of crime points. And then something amazing happened. I died. I went on trial, and one of my two guildmates was on the jury.
Yeah.
So
Has he
between,
got like a pack jury?
yeah, and not to mention, we report all our own crimes falsely as protecting from pirates or killing pirates. So when I got on that trial, they were sitting ducks, man. You got all these people yelling in the general chat about how I killed them wherever, and then we're working the jury, telling them, "Oh, I'm just trying to save people from pirates." And
Well, you're in a
so,
small guild too, so you got 4 people, so you're really pissing off. Like, you're not really getting into the meta, right? Like, you're not. People don't.
oh, the Zerg guilds on our server, we're kill on sight. Every
Oh,
single one
okay.
of them.
All right. Well,
Like
never mind.
both factions, they absolutely hate our guts because all we do is target the weak. And then I log in at the same time every day. I find like 7 letters in my mailbox that say, "Guess what? Here's all the gold that you made from being a dipshit yesterday."
Yeah.
And I spend that money on buying crime potions and taking myself back down to zero. Zero repercussions, only profit. And it's been a blast. And I think it's only a blast because they give you such potential to be a shitty person. And that's just the type of gamer I am. But it's certainly been interesting, and the idea that you could go out and block off a port, block off whatever, and kind of like stake your claim and say, "Come and get me." That's just something you can't do in an MMO, any other MMO that I've ever heard of.
So, have you tried to ram someone out of the
We've done
safe
that.
zone?
Actually, the most effective thing we found out is if you harpoon the front of a ship that's approaching, you can whip them out. Using the physics engine, it will create a arc with their path and launch them out of the safe region, and then we rope them off into the water and kill them in the water where they
Yeah,
can't
and
escape.
you can take your galleon. The galleon works too, and you can hit the front of the boat, and you can push them long enough
Yeah,
because they got to kind of spin, and you get them out to the danger zone.
yeah. I mean, but that's something you don't have to do if you block off all the safe area. They gotta go around, or they unsummon their boat and swim under. But the trade ships can't do that because they have 20
So what
packs on board.
sounds so wrong about this is I know you're there killing like under level 20 players.
No, no, we're. I mean, we're whipping trade ships and things like because the trade ships are the ones that have to go around. They can't.
Oh, okay,
They
right,
can't
right.
unsummon and swim under. The
They're
smart
they're trying
people,
to hug the shore
yeah, and we force
to
them
stay
out.
safe. Okay, yes, that's
And,
awesome.
and then we kill the captain. We take the trade ship and the galleon. We sail them out as far as we can, blow it up so that they can't resummon their boat for 10 minutes while it gets repaired or whatever. And
I tell you what, man, nothing freaks you out more when you're like totally care bearing it up is when you get jerked out of your damn boat.
yeah,
You're like, oh,
it's
I
funny.
got everything. I know what I'm gonna do if I get attacked. This is gonna happen. I'm gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're
Yeah.
gonna target this person, and then PvP happens, and you're in the water, and you're like, boom.
You should always play a stealth character if you don't know what you're doing, because stealth is God in Arcade. It allows
Yeah.
you to strike first. It allows you to pick your battles. Unless you're a Zerg, if you're a Zerg, you don't need stealth because you need, just powers. But it's always a good idea to be able to sneak up on people, or not
Yeah.
be snuck up on. The only person that needs to be visible is the person piloting the ship. Which brings me to another funny story, which I probably have talked about before, where we had one guy piloting the ship who was about level 10 or 15. And then we had like 15 players hidden on a clipper, just stealth, with this 15 with a trade pack driving it around. So he is like a beacon for PKs. They come in and try and kill him, and we all jump out of nowhere. But that's the thing is the game is made for dicking around. It's like all it's made for is just being a bad citizen.
It really shines too in like the open seas.
Yeah.
'Cause I did a lot of the Hazla War and the Halcyona War. And you could do the arenas and stuff too, and all that's okay. But the second I started doing some of the pirating warfare, and then it took it to another level. I started killing greens, so I
Yeah.
could kill anyone. Just if you're a good target, I'm going to kill you.
That's
And
when the game really opens up.
yeah, and man, the whole game hates you. Like I'm not used to that.
It's great.
They're like,
Uh,
"Why are you playing it this way? You guys are all such assholes." I'm like, "Yeah, but we're having so much fun."
Yeah, guess how much more money we have than you now.
I don't know. I'm still broke, But I did just
Yeah.
start doing this killing green thing 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, the funniest part is people will just camp on you for 2 hours, like while you're sitting on your boat doing your thing. They'll just wait, and you've already made your money. You've already taken what's theirs, and they're wasting all their time just trying to,
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah. They come back try to mess with you.
yeah, and they
So
can't because they are a loser, and losers can't do shit to me.
we've got. It seems like our guild has spies, and all of these guilds. So they'll like they had the guild running 3 trade ships or merchant ships, right? One of our guys was on the third boat, and he's like, all right, you're gonna do this, 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 and so we just like hit the second boat. It goes down really quick, and then we get the third boat, and we let the first boat go because our buddy's on it. I was like, this is crazy. And then when they fish, they basically form a raid full of random people
Yeah, I've seen those,
because they
but
want
they
to
have no
find where the
organization.
fish are. Right. They want to find where the fish are. They want to fish in numbers, and they want to try to have some competitive edge against PvPers. But I think more or less it's really just to have a giant network out there finding fish. And man, so they're open. So we put someone in them, and then they tell us like where they are. They're like, oh, they're here. They're on a marlin spot. And so we just boom, go hit it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
or,
you can just
or
shout, and people will tell you where they are. Like, oh, I want to come join a fishing raid, and they'll say, oh, I'm over here. It's like, thanks
or
for
you
broadcasting.
you hit the fishing raid, and then someone there will tell you, hey, I'll tell you where they're going next, as long as you don't kill us.
That's funny. And of course, you do kill them because why not?
Well, no, no, no. We didn't kill them because they led us to like 3 or 4 of the targets. Why kill who's like leading you to the slaughter, right? So,
Yeah, fishing is stupid money. It's like a lot of money.
well, I just got my character to 25K fishing. So I guess when I'm not busy stealing someone's fish, I'll be doing it on my own.
Oh, it's more fun to steal it.
Definitely. I don't know. I still want to buy a couple things in that game. I need money.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, it's probably about time to wrap this up. It's gone on long enough. Unless there's something else you want to.
Let me think. No, I think I'm good.
I mean, as usual, Polygon sucks. I have to say that
Oh
every
yeah, we
episode.
missed that topic. Yeah, they do
Ah, well,
suck.
they suck. We don't have to explain it. I think everybody who's listening, they either understand why or they'll go to Polygon and then immediately realize why.
I don't know. I kind of got suckered into them for a little bit, and then
Yeah, because they're
like an
shiny.
artwork. Yeah.
They look
Uh,
they look
no,
good.
my new find is a giant bomb.
Giant Bomb's pretty good. I used to read Kotaku, but I can't anymore. It's hard to find. It's hard to find a good gaming
Yeah,
media
you know what
site
I do? I just stick to IGN. You know why?
because
Even
they
though
talk
it's
about
shit,
games.
like that. But even though it's shitty, like I know how they write.
Yeah,
So like I can read through all their bullshit. Like, oh yeah, that game's crap. Even though they gave it a 9.
yeah.
But I have enough years of experience reading their site that like, okay, they gave
Well,
this game a 5. It must be awesome.
there was
Not necessarily
a
that, but
there was this old TV station that you might be familiar with. It's called ESPN as a sports station. I
yeah.
mean, for those of you that don't know what it is, you could probably Google it. And what they used to do was they used to talk about sports, give you information and updates on sports so you can be aware of what's going on. When you watch the game, somebody's not playing, you see they were injured, and you know. And now, what ESPN is fucking political bullshit all the time. And that's kind of what's happening to the gaming media right now, is they found out that they can make more money if there's some sort of non-game related controversy that they can capitalize on.
Yeah,
And
please
so,
go away.
yeah,
Get out of my gaming news.
just stop it.
I know
Like,
there's some hot topics that probably need discussion. Um,
nah,
maybe. But
there aren't. It's all bullshit. Leave it to CNN. Leave it to Huffington Post to spout bullshit about that they don't know anything about. Because that's what they do. That's what they make money on. They've been doing it for years. We need gaming people to stick to gaming. Because you're sounding dumb. I mean, I'm gonna say it. Everything that you say, it sounds stupid. You're not cool. You just quit it. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think that's gonna wrap up the entire episode. If you only listen to one part, the last 20 seconds is probably the most important. Stop it. if
Yeah.
if you want to talk about something not related to what your site is implicitly talking about, don't. Period.
It's too late. It's too late. Now they know the views and the page hits they can get.
Yeah.
We're screwed.
Yeah. It's just like when what's the name of that site that makes 100% of their profit off like top 10 lists?
Oh God.
It's
Yeah.
oh man. I guess I can't say what's the name of it.
Cracked.
There's
Cracked
Cracked.
is one.
There's
I
you know,
love Cracked,
all
but
those
Cracked is like 100% top 5 list.
Cracked is fine.
Yeah.
I guess. But there comes a point in time where it's obvious that all you're trying to do is get people to go to the site to click the ads, and you're not writing new content. There's nothing fresh. You're just copying Wikipedia. Like, okay, you're not doing the world a service. Just stop it. Just quit. And that, yeah, definitely don't do it with games unless you're making like a top 10, my favorite RPGs from the 90s, because that's cool. That's fine. But but don't do like a top 10 women who are changing video games, because just stop. All you're doing is trying to make people mad. But anyway.
So I think you'll have to have me back on. We didn't do a Nate versus Megalito Eve chat.
Oh, yeah, we could talk about Eve some other time. I think people are pretty familiar with how I feel about Eve. And then I don't care for it. I mean, I like everything about Eve. Don't get me wrong.
I think I've swung you more to my side than you think.
Now, I will say
I listened to your show, and you sure mention Eve a lot as a champion of video games.
I will say that Eve accomplishes something that no other sandbox MMO accomplishes, and that's success. And the way that they've done it is just by having a bunch of good ideas, and people. It proves really that people don't care about the delivery mechanism as long as the ideas are. It kind of reminds me like Eve could easily be a text-based game, and the game would not change that much.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that makes me wonder if that's something that we should invest in, is a Kickstarter to reproduce Eve as a MUD.
I would definitely play it. There's some out. There's like a Star Wars
just
MUD
imagine
out there. It's pretty good.
Just imagine, you go north, you see stars every direction.
Yes.
And then the description for all the directions: stars. You're done. Game over.
Yeah, or it would definitely work.
See, now
because there's no reason for the client.
I tried to wrap this up, but now I want to talk about the dumbest name for a video game in history, Elite Dangerous, which actually
pretty close.
might end up being a really cool game, despite the fact that it's called Elite Dangerous. That's not like a complete thought. It's like a sentence fragment.
What was the original game called? Was it just Elite?
I don't know.
Was there another name after
has
that?
anybody played any of the other Elites? Just write it in the comments.
You always hear it come up in Eve talk. He's like,
What
"Oh, you
makes
just play Elite. This is the new Elite."
What makes it dangerous? They don't specify. I mean, is being
Like,
elite dangerous? Is the danger the elite? I don't understand. Title your game better. Make a game title that, actually is descriptive.
Maybe the name of the game will change as it progresses.
Elite Casual.
Kind of like that Tom Cruise movie from last year. Now it was Edge of Tomorrow in theaters, and now it's Kill Die Repeat.
They changed
And
it?
yeah,
They
so
changed the name for the
now
video
it's
release?
Kill Die Repeat semicolon Edge of Tomorrow.
What the
And
fuck?
yeah, and probably when it goes to like cable, it'll be called something else.
What the fuck are they doing?
I don't know.
Oh
It's
my
it's a great
god.
movie. That movie's awesome. I love that movie.
It's a good movie. I mean, despite what a cuckoo clock Tom Cruise is, I don't think he's been in many bad movies. Because
No,
to to pay him money, you have to be pretty confident that you've got a good movie on your hands. But good
I
lord,
guess
they changed
I
the
guess my
name.
roundabout my roundabout point there was, if a $1 million movie can change its name mid stride, so can a
Yeah,
video game.
let's change the name to uh, "You Are a Spaceship, Dangerous."
Dangerous Space.
Danger Space.
I
See,
don't know
there you
that our
go.
names are any better than their name.
Danger Space Online. You're already done. You've got the danger in there, you've got the location, and then that it is a multiplayer game. And then you got DSO, which is really cool uh, acronym for it. That's
We could go
important as
back
anything.
to like Elite 2014.
If people had to type out World of Warcraft, I mean, WoW is a cool acronym. You got to have a cool UO is a cool acronym. DSO, and then you got Archage, which is Alcoholics Anonymous. So that gets a little confusing because you say, "What have you been up to?" AA. They don't know. They don't know how to reply to that.
I was talking to a guy at work. I don't even know how it came up, but I was like, I said World of Warcraft. He was like, huh? I go, wow. Oh, okay, yeah, I know what
Oh
you're
yeah! Wow! Yeah! Wow! Wow!
talking
Yeah. No. Yeah. Somebody at my office is like, "What are you playing?" It's like, "Oh, AA." It's like, "Oh, did you get a DUI?"
about. No,
No. It's a Korean game. They don't know what a DUI is there because it's legal to smoke and drink while you drive.
right.
Probably not. I don't know anything about Korea. If any Koreans are listening, just write in the comments whether or not you can drive while drunk in Korea because you gotta assume that you can, right?
Yeah, I mean,
You know
I
you
wouldn't
can
see
in
why you couldn't.
Germany. The
Yeah,
autobahn
it's
is actually it's illegal to drive while drinking anything on the autobahn. I think it's like illegal to have a drink in your hand because you're going so fast.
I bet you they don't even drive in Korea.
they just they just ninja flip everywhere.
Yeah, right. They just do that backflip from the shadow play.
They do a taekwondo kick across. Is there any other martial art out of Korea besides taekwondo?
No.
No, but that's the important one. That's like dance fighting.
Yeah.
this is this is tangentialized, but we got to extend it to 3 hours for the people to get what they want.
How long have we gone? An hour and a half?
I I don't know. We have gone an hour and a half, which is pretty good. I'm impressed that you made it this far.
All right, call it done.
Okay, we are done. This was Senor Podrick, and if you made it this far, you get
We congratulate you.
yeah. I mean, kudos. I'm not even listening to myself anymore, which has become apparent as it gets later and later. Uh, and let me know how you feel about the guitar in the background, whether or not you think it should stay. It's important. It's an important decision I made to have a guitar in the background of the stream. All right, fuck y'all. See you later.
Peace.